You open the fridge the way you always do, half awake, eyes barely focused, just looking for something easy. Your hand lands on a chocolate bar and pulls it free before your brain fully catches up. The wrapper is dark and minimal, matte instead of shiny, confident instead of playful. Dark chocolate. You break off a piece. The first note is bitter, not unpleasant, just serious. Then the cocoa blooms, deep and warm, and for a brief moment you feel more alert, like your mind sharpened its edges. And then the question slips in, quiet but persistent. Is this actually good for you, or is this just candy with better branding? Is dark chocolate truly healthier, or is it just wearing a smarter disguise? Before health claims, before headlines, before percentages printed in bold fonts, we have to define what dark chocolate even is. Chocolate doesn't start as a bar. It starts as cacao beans growing inside pods on tropical trees. Those beans are fermented, dried, roasted, and ground into a thick, gritty paste called cocoa mass. From there, things split. Cocoa butter is separated from cocoa solids, and later they're blended back together in different ratios. That ratio is the entire story. Cocoa solids carry the deep flavor, the bitterness, the earthy complexity people associate with real chocolate. Cocoa butter carries the melt, the smoothness, the way chocolate dissolves instead of crumbles. Sugar acts as the translator. It softens sharp edges and makes bitterness approachable. Dark chocolate usually means a higher percentage of cocoa solids and little to no milk, but that word usually matters more than people realize. Most bars start calling themselves dark around 50% cocoa. The bars praised for health are often 70% or higher, where cacao begins to dominate instead of sugar. But here's the quiet trick. Two bars can both say dark and be completely different experiences. One might be rich in cacao with restrained sweetness. Another might barely cross the dark threshold while compensating with extra sugar or fats to stay smooth. Dark is a category, not a promise. The word itself doesn't carry the benefit. The benefit lives inside the cacao. That's where science starts paying attention. The parts of chocolate that attract researchers aren't the sugar, and they're not the milk. They're natural compounds found in cacao, especially a group called flavonols. These are plant compounds that act like tiny messengers in your body. They influence how your blood vessels behave, how flexible they stay, how easily blood flows through them. One of their most studied effects is increasing nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide helps blood vessels relax and widen, which improves circulation and reduces strain on the heart. That's the real reason dark chocolate shows up in health conversations. Not because chocolate is magical, but because cacao contains chemistry your body can use. That subtle lift you felt, that sense of alert calm, may come partly from improved blood flow and partly from cacao's natural stimulants. But the key point is this. When dark chocolate helps, it's because of cacao, not because it feels like a reward. Long before nutrition labels and antioxidant charts, cacao had a very different reputation. For ancient civilizations like the Maya and the Aztecs, cacao wasn't dessert. It was ritual, medicine, and status. It was consumed as a bitter drink made with water, sometimes spices, but no sugar and no milk. It was energizing, taken seriously, even used as currency. Cacao wasn't something you ate mindlessly while standing at the fridge. It demanded attention. That history matters because it reveals the modern contradiction. We want cacao's functional power, but we also want comfort. We want the benefits without giving up sweetness. So modern chocolate becomes a compromise. Science helps us separate what cacao can actually do from what modern processing often takes away. One of the most repeated claims is heart health. And this one isn't pure marketing. Studies have shown that small amounts of high cocoa dark chocolate can modestly improve blood pressure and cholesterol markers, particularly LDL cholesterol. Again, flavonols are doing the work. They help blood vessels stay flexible, improve circulation, and reduce inflammation in the vascular system. But the word modest matters. This isn't medicine. It doesn't replace movement, sleep, or a balanced diet. And as sugar and fat increase, those benefits shrink. At some point, the bar stops behaving like cacao and starts behaving like dessert. The heart doesn't care what the wrapper says. It responds to what's actually inside. Then there's the antioxidant claim, which sounds even more impressive. Cacao often ranks high in antioxidant capacity when tested in labs, sometimes alongside blueberries or green tea. Antioxidants help neutralize free radicals, unstable molecules that can damage cells over time. That kind of damage is linked to aging and chronic disease, which is why antioxidants carry such weight in health culture. But here's the detail that rarely makes the headline. Processing matters. Many chocolate products are heavily processed, and that processing can significantly reduce flavonol levels. Some cocoa is alkalized, also known as Dutch processed, to reduce bitterness and darken color. It makes chocolate smoother and more approachable, but it can strip away many of the compounds people think they're buying. So yes, cacao can be rich in antioxidants, but dark chocolate is not a guarantee. A bar can look serious and still deliver very little of what earned cacao its reputation. If blood vessels matter for the heart, they matter for the brain too. That's where the idea of dark chocolate as a brain booster comes from. Flavonols can increase blood flow to the brain, which may support short-term improvements in focus, reaction time, and memory. Not dramatic changes, just subtle sharpening. More like cleaning a window than installing new glass. Dark chocolate also contains small amounts of caffeine and theobromine, mild stimulants that increase alertness without the aggressive spikes some people get from coffee. That's why a small piece of dark chocolate can feel grounding and energizing at the same time. It's not a superpower. It's a nudge. And it often feels better than a sugar-heavy snack that spikes energy and drops it just as fast. Up to this point, dark chocolate sounds like a clever tool. And it can be. But this is where the story often gets edited. Because the same bar that contains beneficial compounds also contains something people forget to count. Dark chocolate is dense. It's compact energy designed to melt and satisfy quickly. Even high-quality dark chocolate contains cocoa butter, which is mostly saturated fat. It may behave differently than some other saturated fats, but it still adds up fast. And sugar is more deceptive than people assume. Bitter does not mean low sugar. Some dark bars contain nearly as much sugar as milk chocolate, just balanced by more cocoa so your tongue doesn't register it as sweet. A bar can taste serious and still be sugary. This is how the health halo works. A darker wrapper, a higher percentage, a grown-up flavor, and suddenly you feel licensed to eat more than you would if it came in bright packaging and tasted like candy. Dark chocolate is best understood as a functional treat, not a superfood. It can be better without being harmless. The difference between support and self-deception often comes down to portion size. One square versus the entire row. A pause versus a second reach. That pause matters more than people think. So how do you keep the potential benefits without falling into the marketing trap? You don't need a lecture. You need a simple rule you can use while the fridge door is still open and cold air is brushing your wrist. Give yourself 5 seconds. First, check the cocoa percentage. If you're buying for cacao's benefits, aim for 70% or higher. It doesn't make the bar perfect, but it usually means more cacao and less sugar. Second, scan the ingredients. If sugar appears near the top, the bar is telling you exactly what it prioritizes. Third, look for processing clues. Words like alkalized or Dutch process usually mean smoother flavor but fewer flavonols. You're choosing comfort over function. That's it. No diet, no miracle. Just a way to make sure your healthy choice is actually built from cacao, not clever branding. Now return to that first bite with clearer eyes. The moment between impulse and taste. Is dark chocolate healthier? Sometimes, yes. But the honest answer is conditional. It depends on cacao content, processing, sugar, and quietly, relentlessly, how much you eat. The strangest part is how easily our brains accept shortcuts. A dark wrapper feels disciplined. A bitter note feels adult. Our percentage feels like proof. We mistake these signals for health because we want the world to be simple. Good foods and bad foods. Heroes and villains. But chocolate has always been two things at once. Chemistry and comfort. It can be a small tool or a quiet habit, depending on how you use it. Next time you reach into the fridge for that matte black bar, notice the pause between impulse and bite. In that pause, you get to decide what you're really eating. Cacao that happens to taste good, or candy that learned how to dress well. If this changed how you see dark chocolate, tell me which kind you usually choose. Do you eat it as a small daily ritual, or only when you need a quick mental lift? And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden truth behind everyday foods, the fine print behind familiar labels, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next small secret hiding in plain sight.